Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into Rumi's Mathnawi today.
Oh, cool.
Specifically, we're looking at an academic lecture by Dr. نیما قربانی. He dissects this classic story about a king, a lovesick slave girl, a goldsmith, and a wise physician. It's really fascinating stuff. We'll unpack the different forms of love and attachment and then see how they resonate, maybe clash with our lives today.
You know, it is fascinating. It's like we're not just looking at an ancient tale.
Yeah.
We're actually using psychology to understand these characters and their motivations.
Right.
It's like Rumi was centuries ahead of his time.
I know. Okay, so let's set the scene. We have this king, and he's head over heels for his beautiful slave girl.
Right.
But then she suddenly falls ill, and none of the kingdom's doctors can figure out what's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The king is frantic, obviously. He goes to the mosque to pray, falls asleep, and he dreams of this wise physician who can cure his beloved. And guess what?
What?
This dream doctor actually appears in real life.
Whoa, hold on. So it's like straight out of a movie or something.
Right.
But this is where Rumi, I think, is just like brilliant.
Yeah.
Through this careful observation and some insightful listening, the physician realizes the slave girl isn't sick physically, she's sick with love.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's deeply infatuated with this goldsmith from a distant city.
So classic case of unrequited love.
Exactly.
But what does the king even do? I mean, he can't force the goldsmith to reciprocate, right?
Well, he tries a different approach.
Okay.
The king is desperate to save this girl, right?
Yeah.
He's really attached to her. He sends for the goldsmith, offers him unimaginable wealth and luxury, like if he agrees to be with the slave girl.
Wow.
And believe it or not, the goldsmith abandons his family and an entire life to accept the offer.
Wow, that's a huge decision. So we already have like 3 different types of love here, right? The king's love for the slave girl.
Right.
Her intense longing for the goldsmith. And then the king's budding admiration for the wise physician. It's like a love triangle, but with a philosophical twist.
You got it. And Dr. Qurbanī, he really dives into each of these dynamics, starting with the slave girl's love for the goldsmith.
Yeah.
And he actually suggests that her love is a form of narcissism.
Really?
Yeah, it's driven by this desire for elevation.
Okay.
Like through attachment to someone who represents power, wealth, status. It's not about the goldsmith himself.
So it's not real love.
It's more about what he represents to her.
It's like an obsession.
Yeah, you could say
She's fixated on this image of him without truly seeing him.
Uh-huh.
It's like those whirlwind celebrity romances where one person is totally enamored by the fame and the attention.
It's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And that kind of love can be super potent.
Yeah.
But also incredibly fragile.
Right, because it's not grounded in reality.
Exactly.
So what happens when that image starts to crumble? Does she, like, wake up and realize?
Well, Dr. Qurbanī argues that her unfulfilled love turns inwards.
Okay.
It manifests as a psychosomatic illness.
So she literally makes herself sick.
Yeah, with longing.
Wow.
He calls this the masochistic side of narcissistic love.
Wait, masochistic, so she actually enjoys the pain.
Not consciously, of course.
Yeah.
But he points to this deeper dynamic.
Okay.
Sometimes we seek out these relationships that mirror old wounds, old patterns, even if they're harmful.
It's like we're drawn to the familiar, even if it hurts.
You got it. Like that saying, we repeat what we don't repair.
Exactly. And this is where the story takes this fascinating turn.
Oh, okay.
Tell me more. What happens next?
So, you know, we've been talking about this slave girl, but Dr. Qurbanī, he also points out that the goldsmith.
Oh, right, the goldsmith.
Yeah, he kind of exhibits these narcissistic tendencies too.
Interesting. I was wondering about him. He seems to just go along with this whole thing. Is he just like a passive player in this love triangle?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Dr. Qurbanī connects him to this archetype of the wounded artist, like talented but insecure.
Oh, okay.
They might use their craft to, you know, mask the insecurity, gain admiration, but without that emotional depth for meaningful relationships. Think of those celebrities always jumping from one relationship to the next, searching for that next big thing to validate their worth.
Oh, I see, I see. So the king's offer of wealth and status, that feeds right into that need for validation.
Exactly. He can't resist the spotlight, even if it's on someone else's stage.
Right.
And, you know, as Dr. Qurbanī says, that kind of validation,
yeah,
it's fleeting. It's not a solid foundation.
No, it's not. Okay, so we have the slave girl trapped in her fantasy. and the goldsmith blinded by fame and fortune.
Right.
What about the king? He kind of set this whole thing in motion, didn't he?
Well, the king's journey, it's actually the most hopeful part of the story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember, he starts fixated on possessing the slave girl, wants to cure her, keep her for himself. But as he observes the physician, his perspective kind of starts to shift.
I'm sensing a transformation here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The king starts to admire the physician's wisdom, his compassion, his ability to see beyond the surface, understand the deeper roots of suffering. He realizes that strength, fulfillment, they come from cultivating those qualities within.
Not from trying to control others.
Right. It's like he's understanding that real love isn't about ownership or possession.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the other person for who they truly are.
It's about appreciation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's important to know, Dr. Qur'bani emphasizes this.
Okay.
This doesn't diminish the king's care for the slave girl.
Okay.
He still wants her to be well, but he's realizing that his happiness, it can't depend solely on someone else.
Especially someone caught in their own unhealthy attachments.
Exactly. So it's like the king is graduating, moving from this immature, ego-driven love to a more mature and compassionate understanding.
It makes you wonder, though, how can the physician, with all his wisdom, allow these two, the slave girl and the goldsmith, to potentially embark on this path that just seems like it's going to be a disaster?
Well, remember, the physician's goal, it's not about forcing a happy ending. It's about exposing the shallowness of their love, creating conditions for transformation.
It's like he's setting up this elaborate intervention, bringing their shadows to light.
Precisely. Like, think of a controlled burn in a forest.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to clear out the underbrush,
right? That makes sense,
for new, healthier growth. And this brings us to, like, a crucial question.
Okay, what's that?
Does this intervention work? Do they actually learn and grow from this experience?
All right, so we're back, and I have to know, what happens to the slave girl and the goldsmith?
Well, it's not a fairy tale ending. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
The physician, remember, his aim wasn't to force them together.
Right.
But to create the conditions where they could confront the truth.
Okay, so how do you do that?
He prescribes this unconventional treatment, puts their love to the test.
Unconventional? You got to tell me more.
He instructs the king to give the goldsmith half the riches up front. Then he suggests something pretty drastic. The king locks the slave girl and the goldsmith in a room together for 6 months with only a small window to the outside.
6 months? Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. It's like a social experiment from Rumi.
So what's the reasoning? Why do that?
It's pretty brilliant, actually.
Okay.
By isolating them, no distractions, no escapes.
Yeah.
They're forced to face each other and themselves.
So it's like all the illusions, all the fantasies?
Gone. They have to face reality.
How do they react to this?
Well, the slave girl's love, remember, is based on this fantasy.
Right, this idealized image.
Exactly. Forced to spend all this time together.
Yeah.
Reality sets in. She starts to see his flaws.
The rose-colored glasses come off.
Exactly. What about the goldsmith, though?
Yeah, how does he handle being trapped like that?
He realizes pretty quickly that this isn't so glamorous.
Right.
Can't freely spend his wealth, constantly scrutinized, burdened by her expectations. He becomes a gilded cage himself.
Trapped by the very things he thought would make him happy.
Exactly. So their relationship, it's starting to implode.
Yeah, this doesn't sound good.
Dr. Qur'bani calls it a toxic feedback loop.
Oh, wow.
All this intensity, the infatuation, the disillusionment, it creates a downward spiral, their unhappiness. It even starts manifesting physically.
Like they're becoming sick.
Yeah, almost like mirroring her original lovesickness.
Oh, wow. So the physician, he must have anticipated this, right?
He did. His goal wasn't to punish them.
Right.
But to break them free. So he devises a plan to make the goldsmith physically repulsive to her.
Wait, what? How's he going to do that?
Oh, he makes a potion, causes the goldsmith's skin to discolor.
Okay.
His appearance deteriorates. It's a metaphor, of course.
Right, for seeing someone's true nature.
Exactly. As he becomes less attractive,
yeah,
her attachment fades.
The spell is broken.
Yes. She detaches from that image. What happens to the goldsmith, though?
Yeah, does he learn anything?
That's a bit ambiguous. He suffers, definitely. but it's not clear if he gains wisdom. Dr. Qurbanī leaves it open. Maybe he just moves on to the next shiny object.
So even when we see the evidence, sometimes we choose to stay blind.
Poignant observation. And, it brings us back to the key takeaway here.
Yeah.
True love, the kind that nourishes us, that sustains us. It can only blossom when we've done the inner work.
When we can see ourselves, see others clearly.
Without those distortions, those fantasies.
It's about self-knowledge, self-worth.
Right. Choosing relationships based on respect, genuine connection.
Not just those fleeting desires, the need for validation.
Exactly. It's like Rumi, through this tale.
Yeah.
He's offering a roadmap for love and attachment.
And even though it's an ancient story,
it's still relevant today.
Absolutely. This has been an illuminating journey.
It has.
It leaves us with so much to think about. If even bad love has a purpose, how can we be more aware of our own motivations?
Right.
How can we cultivate that wise physician within?
Those are powerful questions. Questions to carry with us.
As we navigate our own journeys of love, loss, self-discovery.
Exactly. Until next time, fellow explorers.
May your journeys be filled with wisdom, compassion.
And the courage to love deeply and truly.
I love that. See you all next time.